there are other ways as well where someone can get a metrics kind of a thing, or calculate that okay, they are eligible to get this much loan.
Everything for the customer is free of charge, like I said, because we do get paid by the bank upon success, of course. The chance that he will get an interest rate of 3.1 as of today is super, super high.
Like in your consulting, will you also help them in telling whether okay, this property is worth or not?
The longer you would like to have the interest rate guaranteed, the higher the initial interest rate gets. Net income times 100 is the more or less recommended loan amount.
Yeah, maybe it's also because of inflation, because now new projects will be like insane in price. It's not only the money or the best rate or things, but it is also the personal experience or the interaction or the feeling of the trust you can go with. I was already stuck with the one property and I only wanted that. Hello everyone, welcome back to Experts Talk with Himansha. And today's episode is dedicated on loans. In our life, in our day-to-day life, we require loan for many things, whether it is your car, property, personal loan, or anything else. That's the reason we have invited our guest today, who also provide his assistance in English and help you get loan in Germany. And you'll be glad to know that he provide his assistance in English. So if you are someone who is looking forward for any loan, then stay tuned to our channel and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Hello Dimitri, welcome to Experts Talk with Himansha. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi Himansha, thank you for having me. First of all, it's very, very nice that you have invited me to join your podcast and that episode of loans. I'm very, very glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Yes. So, would you like to also tell a little more about Baugeld Mehr, so that people have little awareness?
Of course, I would love to. So the main thing about my company is that the company is privately funded. Unfortunately, not by me, but I've been joined in co-ownership since 2016. Company itself exists since over 2002, means over 23 years. And my company is, like I said, co-owned by me and my two other partners, is responsible for a complete independent consultation of customers for a potential loan. Doesn't matter whether it is a housing loan for a new build property purchased from the builder or a second-handed one that is already existing, whether it is a house or an apartment, or maybe someone who already has a loan and trying to get his loan refinanced because the type of loan in Germany does require that, or even somebody who needs to have a modernization loan or renovation loan, personal loan. We do compare, consult, and check all the banks in Germany, completely independent. The best thing is free of charge for our customers, because we do get paid by commission from a bank because of our consultancy service. Since the bank does completely outsource that consultancy part to us, because we do all come from banks, we are all educated and certified by different banks, which allows us to do our job for that bank. So we basically do that consultancy. We do check all the documents and rules and regulations requirements from different banks and find the best solution for our customers. And of course, English consultation, as you have mentioned.
Yes. And I'm the evident of this consulting, because I'm one of your happy customer.
Thank you
And
so
that's
much.
the reason we are here together today, because we also wanted our audience, our friends and known people to know about it and to get benefit out of it, because it's difficult in Germany to get the assistance and understand all those financial terms in German. Although it's good to have or known German, but when it comes to finances, we become like extra curious or extra attentive, and that's where English assistance helps a lot.
Absolutely, because it is a very, very important step in your life, especially when you try to purchase a home in a foreign country where you migrated to, right? Where you try to settle down, where you try to let your roots and where you try to find a place called home. And this is a very, very important milestone and step in life. And that's why a lot of people do search English consultancy in that area, because
Yes.
like still if it is another country, another language, I know it as a migrant too, because I migrated to Germany 1996. This is a long time ago, but
Yes.
still I do know how people struggle and how people feel when do they, like, first of all get in touch with that kind of situation. So I'm
That's
very
true.
glad and happy to help.
Correct.
Please also keep on referring further and sharing our contact data, my contact data, because
Definitely,
that's how it
definitely,
works.
because this is where the trust comes into picture, when we know
Absolutely.
that someone from our known, or someone from whom we trust has already gone through with the company or the person. We feel little relaxed, because as we know, with the inflation, the houses or vehicle, anything is like super expensive, and then when you have to mortgage a bigger amount, you definitely require a trust.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
So, like I said, I'm happy to help and happy to answer all your questions that you have prepared.
Yes, definitely. So maybe we start with, like, how is the loan market nowadays?
Oh, right. The loan market nowadays, we can talk about it like for days and days, but to make it short and still professional in a couple of sentences, loan market is still very, very active. We have a huge demand, and a lot of people are searching for consultancy, are aiming to buy a property. Right now, the most focus, to be honest, is on second-handed properties, like on already existing ones, because due to our governmental regulations, we do not want to get a deeper dive into that, but still we have super low units coming up in the near future, and not that big of a new build activity as it was maybe like 5 years ago, as you can remember, when you
Yes.
were in your searching
Yes,
processes in the
yes.
first steps. Right now, we still have new builders and new units coming up and being built in the next years, but not by far not as many as it were a couple of years ago.
Couple of years ago.
So people are trying to buy what is already existing, and this is what we have, or what we do currently experience, that it has shifted from a 50-50 grade, like couple of years ago, 50% of our customers were buying new build properties and 50% were buying existing properties. And right now it has shifted to an 80-20, means
Okay.
80% of our customers are buying second-handed properties due to non-availability.
Yeah,
Because
maybe it's also because of inflation, because now new projects will be like insane in price.
yes, and it will continue hiking, and that's the main
Yes.
thing, because the people are experiencing a huge pressure in rent raisings. So all of the
Yes.
people that are currently living and paying rent have experienced their rent raised and being raised, and next year again, and
Yes.
compared, and that's the main intention, and the main decision point on buying a property is that still, compared to the rent, buying with the current rates and with the current conditions on the market is still cheaper than renting. And that's fact. That's fact in almost every calculation.
Correct. Because I also heard that when this interest rates are higher, like as it is higher nowadays, so the property prices, the second-hand properties has gone lower.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, and it is always the same, and almost, if you just take the past as your research, because this is the only thing that we can do, is we can look into the past and check how it was back then. So
Yes.
every time when the interest rates were hiking or were growing, prices were not that fast in raisings and stabilized until the inflation went down and down, and then the level switched, the rates where the rates become more lower, and then the prices went up again. So all the time when you have higher rates, you have a more stable price ratio, and every time you have lower rates, the prices tend to go higher and higher.
Yeah.
That's the same
This
thing.
arises like another question to my mind. Is there a right time to buy and
That's that,
invest?
that's a wonderful question, to be honest.
Yes.
And the right time is always now, because
Okay.
there is no time to waste. It will always stay in that kind of in that kind of scheme, and it will always be that you need to get off rent. That's the main intention, because by paying rent you just waste money every month, and
Correct.
that's why you cannot predict, to be honest. That's the most professional answer that someone can give to you, because no one can look into the future and tell you when the rates will be maybe lower, maybe higher, when the prices will be maybe lower, maybe higher. We can only check the calculations that we can do now, and this is the thing that I was trying to tell a couple of sentences ago, is when you compare the same property as a rental property and the same property as a property to be bought and financed, then your interest payments will be definitely lower than your potential rent that you end up paying with that same property if you compare rent versus purchase.
Okay.
And as long as you have that kind of benefit, that you can say your potential interest for that loan will be lower than your current rental price for the same property, it's always pro purchase.
Okay.
So it's
Maybe if
always
you
the
can
right time.
explain same thing with some numbers, then it is more easier, because what I felt being an expat and others, sometimes we have uncertainty that how much we are going to stay in the country, and then comes with like, okay, with blue card, am I eligible to buy a property or not, or how will the mortgage go? If I want to go back, what will happen to property? Because of this many reasons, people actually do not go and check. But as you explained now, if someone is paying say rent now for 3 Zimmer, it's easily 1200 to 1400 rent what we pay nowadays. So, and if they try to buy an old apartment,
Yeah.
the same, then how much that calculation will work?
Okay, let's do this freestyle, because
Yeah.
if you do have an example for a 3-bedroom apartment, as you said right now,
Yes.
just hypothetically spoken, the rental price, cold rent, as you said,
Yes.
will be around 1,300 euros,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So if it is 1,300 euros and you multiply this by 12, it will be somewhere around 16 to 17,000 euros in the first year in cold rent that you pay, right?
Yeah.
Multiplied by 10, let's do this calculation for 10 years, with an average raise of your rent, just roughly 2%, you end up paying somewhere around 200 plus thousand euros in rent,
Okay.
right? That's the amount that you basically know today, and it all only knows one direction. It can be either 200 plus or a lot higher,
Or lot
because
higher.
of
Yes.
the rental hikes,
Correct.
right? Plus, of course, the uncertainty that the landlord might kick you out because he has the total right to do it. He might sell off the property, and some other landlord, future owner, might raise your rent higher and higher. So not only the money, but also the risk that comes to it needs to be evaluated, but later on, that the second part. And if you compare the same apartment, just give me a size for the 3-room apartment.
Maybe like 90 square
90
meter.
square meters.
Yeah.
An average price for a 90 square meter apartment right now is somewhere around 3,500 in square meter pricage, means 1 square meter costs 3,500 euros.
Okay.
Here in the area, plus minus, of course, based on the condition of the property, right? If it
Correct.
needs to be renovated, it can be a little bit less. If it needs to be like, if everything is super good, then
Yes.
it's maybe a little bit higher. But just to have an average, let's say it's 3,500 euros
500,
per square
okay.
meter. So in the end of the day, it's roughly 315,000 euros on that 90 square meter apartment, right?
Okay. And then how much will be the EMI come for this house?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
when we talk about a finance of the 315,000 euro property price, what you definitely need to contribute from your equity are the closing costs. The closing costs are typically notar fees and tax. Here in Bavaria, we're super lucky because we have the lowest tax in whole Germany. It's 3.5%. And the notar charges for the whole land charge and processing fees are somewhere around 2%, just roughly spoken, right? So if you are lucky and you have no agency involved, for example, no real estate agent involved, if you buy from a private salesperson who is owning the apartment and selling it, you will experience, it's called Nebenkosten in German, that word. So let's call it closing costs. It will be like 5.5% based on the purchase price of
Okay. So if
315,000.
one has only this much amount, they can buy. They do not require any equity or down payment.
Of course, the equity and down payment impacts your interest rate. Means,
Okay.
and it also comes with some special ands and buts. So
Okay.
if you do have, you cannot maximize everything out. Means you cannot just be freshly jumpstart in Germany with a fresh working contract without any savings in the back, just having the closing costs and aiming for a 100% loan without any residence permit. This will make things kind of challenging. But as
Yes.
soon as you have, for example, as soon as you have permanent residency, you can have a 100% loan. As long
Okay.
as you have blue card status, you need to contribute another 10% out of the property purchase price. Means the bank limits your maximum loan to 90%.
90%.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in that kind of an example, let's say the customer has a permanent residency, then he can aim for a 315,000 euros loan.
That
And
complete.
exactly, and
Yes.
the interest rate as of now in the super worst case scenario is roughly spoken 4%. Maybe three nine something. Let's call
This
it.
is the interest rate which is running nowadays.
Exactly, that's the
Yes.
current interest rate by end
But
of
this is
September
also already a good
2025.
point to be noted that even the person, if having a blue card, they are still eligible to take loan and
Of
buy the
course.
property, because most of like expats are still in delusion that okay, they do not have permanent residency, whether they are allowed to buy property or not, how much loan will they get. But it is good that at least if they have 10% of equity, permanent contract, and blue card, they are still eligible to get loan.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. Let's
yes.
go back to the calculation for a second, because
Yeah.
even if we have that 100% loan, which is considered a full risk loan with an interest rate of 4% and
Correct.
a loan amount of 315,000, then we can have that kind of calculation also for the next 10 years, and that 4% out of 315,000 euros are your annual interest of approximately 12,000. Okay?
Okay.
So 12,000, let's call it even let's call it even 13,000, right? So based on that calculation and the next 10 years, you will have a maximum interest payment to the bank of, just roughly spoken, 120,000, maybe 130,000 euros based on your classic installment, and this is way less than your potential rent
Rent
payment.
what we have
Exactly,
paid.
exactly. And that kind of calculation, of course, changes to your to maximize your benefit if you do add some more down payment to the loan.
Correct,
Because the
correct.
interest rate gets better, your overall paid interest gets better, and what we have not discussed about is the appreciation of the property that comes
Property.
additionally with it. Means
Correct.
the price that you pay now for 315,000 euros, if we just travel back in time 10 years ago, that property that had 90 square meters in price were somewhere around maybe, let's call it 250, maybe 220,000.
And
That
now
is
it
right
is
now
350.
exactly, and it will be
Be-
450 in 10
Yes,
years.
in 10 years.
Because that's supply and demand, and we have super high demand and super low supply here in our area, and that what always and this is what always beats the market. So in the end of the day, you will have a property appreciation, you will have the calculation that the interest rate is lower than the potential rent that you pay,
Yes.
and that's why always pro buying and owning instead of renting.
Correct. But one point to note, like as you mentioned, that property might be 215 or 250, maybe 10 years back. Now it is 350, and in future it may be 450. But say if the property is pretty old, like how to judge that this property is going to appreciate in future if we are investing in a second hand property?
Well, the amount that you pay will constantly grow because of inflation. That's fact, because the numbers do change and adjust upwards. Of
Correct.
course, you need to do a little bit deeper research into the market and the area where you purchase. But
Okay.
the same thing also does apply to the new build sector. Of course, the new build sector will appreciate too, and will stay very stable in their worth and resale potential. And you need to calculate more on the savings side for a second-handed properties. But just because it's second-handed isn't always a bad decision. Of course, maybe you need to consider to put more money into some renovations in future, or check your community in the house, how much savings already been generated when we talk about an apartment,
Okay.
or what was done when we talk about a house. So only a conversation and only an honest discussion with the seller, with the current landlord, will help you in this research, of course.
Okay, then we already get to know if any kind of renovations are upcoming for the building when it's apartment, or for the house if it is independent, so that you can calculate the worth. And definitely we know that there are houses, like especially in Nuremberg, from 1901, and they're still standing so good.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
they are like
yes,
the good old German construction sites,
yes,
right?
yes,
When they were built like dozens of decades ago,
yes,
they're still standing. They are still good in shape
good.
because the construction is well maintained, is well in shape, and the materials that they were using and still do use. Like, we have a super crazy regulation in Germany because of our construction standards. So you more or less can be safe and secure that everything that is being built, like in the past 50, 60, 70 years, will definitely last another 60, 70, 80
Yes,
years.
yes,
You just need to hold it and maintain it in, like, more or less in shape, having
correct.
having just an awareness of your property, treating it nice.
Correct, correct. And I mean, as you said, that property stays longer. This also gives confidence to people that okay, they can invest in an old apartment or an old house, and it will definitely add to their asset values rather than getting depreciated.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
sometimes we also have a mind, oh, this is already 50 years or 60 years old. If I stay here for another 10 or 15 years, we don't know whether it is going to be sold or not.
Oh no, I wouldn't definitely be afraid of that kind of topic. I
Okay.
would look at the whole picture, because when you buy a second-handed property, you will experience a lower price, of course, than compared to the new build sector, and
Yeah.
that's also a super big aspect that is speaking pro purchase of even a second-handed properties. Only because they are second-handed, they are not super bad in value or worth.
Okay. I mean, I'm typically like fan of your consulting, and I had a quite good experience. But I just wanted for my audience to know, like in your consulting, will you also help them in telling whether okay, this property is worth or not? Say someone has identified from Emo Scout or somewhere some property, and they come to you for a loan assistance. Do you help them to understand whether this the price what is quoted for the property is good, or what they get from bank or things like that?
Of course, we
Okay.
do. We do, of course, share, first of all, our opinion. And second of all, we do try to tell the customer that a lot of the property prices are, as of today, as of today's market, are more or less balanced. Some of them, like, if it is a super high above average or below, you need to have some alarm clocks, right?
Okay.
So if you do follow the mainstream of Immowelt and ImmoScout and all of the searching portals and websites, and your property that you find or you select is more or less within the average, because they do also have some indicators, it is already a good sign. But of course, we do check the properties, the bank check the properties.
Okay.
But the main thing, the worth, or what everybody is concerned about, the value of the properties, the value comes very often from the inside, because value for me is a different one than a value for you, or for a customer who is buying a property where his family and kindergarten and job is nearby. Then he often feels absolutely good and motivated to even pay more because it's his property, and that's why value is such a big word. But of course we do check the numbers if the price of the property matches the standards.
The
Let's call it
standards.
like that. Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
Okay, and like for us, it was a different case because I was already stuck with a one property and I only wanted that. But say someone is hunting for a house and they currently don't know whether they want to go for it or not, but they want to check with bank whether they are eligible to get loans and not. So in this case, maybe they see 2 to 3 properties or more. Then how does the consulting work? So until they get the loan, is like all consulting free, or they do have to do some prerequisite or some homework before coming to you?
So yes, of course, all the consultancy is completely free. From the first touch with me until the last contract signature, until the payout of the loan, everything for the customer is free of charge, like I said, because we do get paid by the bank upon success, of course. So everything we do in advance is a share of trust, is a share of service, and of our way of how we are and who we are. But the ideal steps would be for everybody who is searching for a property or has more or less decided that yes, I want to purchase a future home, whether it is a rental one or a home own used one in Germany, is to approach us and to get a first consultation of what they want to afford, because usually it is a difference between what the people can afford and what
Yes.
people want to
Want.
afford. Usually, as per all the calculations, since we can approach over 400 banks in Germany, usually we will definitely find at least one bank who will do the loan. But normally, that one bank is not the one you would like to end up with. So the can is super high and the want is usually lower than the can. Means our mission is with the customer together to figure out what do you want to afford based on your criteria, based on your settings that you have, based on your requirements, and based on your criteria that you bring. Do you have the permanent residency or do you have blue card? Do we need to search for a bank that for example allows English speaking, or are your German skills good enough so that we can also include banks that are do financing German speaking customers only?
Okay.
There are also some banks that are doing only German speakers, or banks that are, for example, only doing some employed customers or some freelancing customers. There are so many banks in different varieties, and that's our mission on the first and second consultation, to figure out what do you have as a customer in potential in your requirements, and what kind of banks are doing that kind of loan and whatnot.
So
And
does bank play such a vital role? Because as you said, like some banks only deal with the customer who speaks only in German, or based on this banks, does interest rate varies a lot?
I wouldn't say a lot, because the major impact for the interest rate is still and will always be equity. Of
Okay.
course, there are some minor or little more major impacts for the rate based on your interest rate guarantee period of time, which is called also long. Germans love long words, actually, by the way. It's called Zinsbindung. It's
Okay.
the guaranteed interest period, whether it is 5 years for guaranteed
Yes.
interest, or 10 years, or 15 or 20. Usually, the longer you would like to have the interest rate guaranteed, the higher the initial interest rate gets.
Okay.
Or if you would like to have some pre-closure possibility, like it's called also long German word, Sondertilgung, which is special extra payment every
Okay.
year, an annual extra payment that allows you to close out the loan faster. If you would
Faster.
like to have that kind of option, some banks do have it already included in their package. Some banks are
Okay.
asking for an upcharge regarding the interest rate. Whether you speak German or not, some banks include or exclude the loan possibilities. Generally, it is not a matter of interest rate, they just simply don't. And other banks, like I said, do focus on the major topic of permanent residency or blue card, because a lot of banks do say that loan is only possible with permanent residency in hands, with that PR card.
Okay.
And other banks that are still a couple of very good and attractive banks do limit the loan amount to 90% out of the property purchase price.
Okay.
But generally, once again, generally, equity does have a super high role in your interest rate. So let's take it to the extreme. Let's say the customer has 60% of equity or 50% of equity. He's purchasing a property for 600K and bringing 300 down, having a need of 300K loan. And he's earning good money, the property is well maintained, everything fits. The chance that he will get an interest rate of 3.1 as of today is super high.
Okay.
And the other customer, like I said, when he only gets the funds secured to be able to pay the closing costs like notary and tax,
Yes.
then his interest rate would be somewhere around 4. So there is a huge gap. It's almost
Yes.
1% between
Yes.
the best case and the worst case.
Yes.
And that's the main impact, equity.
Okay. I understand because this plays quite like vital role if what kind of a residence permit you have. It's a blue card or a permanent residency. The job contract, what you hold, like it's a full-time good earning job and how much equity you bring. So all
Absolutely.
of this combination together plays like differently for each individual that in which case you fits the best.
Absolutely. And also,
Yes.
one major important thing is that the banks do change their rules and regulations, which makes my job very attractive and very turbulent at the same time, because
Yeah.
we cannot follow a certain a certain
Standard.
a certain
Yeah.
standard for the same bank, same
Yes.
regulations, because some banks do have their special requests for half of year and then they just review it and then they don't have it. Some banks are coming up with some extras or some financing weeks for customers A, B, or C. So you cannot preview it, you cannot really check it. That's why my job is so important, because with me you have that independent overview of all the banks. And in the end of the day,
Correct.
I'm just seeking for a further referral and for a further recommendations, because I want to
Correct.
do my job good, satisfying you as a customer, getting a good loan for you, because I do not care which bank pays the commission, because in the end of the day they all pay the
They are,
same. And
yes.
I'm just trying to do my good job. That's it. That's why it always makes
So
sense to approach
when
me.
you said it's like different banks and like they any of one will definitely suit one or the other needs of one like customer, but say one thing is done, they have bought the property, loan is done and it is closed in the 1 year, and then still are there some communications from bank what customer has to deal, or you still help them if there is anything after the loan is dispersed?
Well, in the best way, there is no communication between customer and bank, because then everything runs smooth and everything is good and no one no one needs to talk about nothing, because as long as the bank takes the money from the customer's account
Yes.
and it gets done and sorted out, everybody is good and everybody is fine. Then the only touching point for me and the future customer is upon his expiration of rate, which is in a standard time
From
of
the
10
locking
years.
period, yes.
Exactly. Like a couple of years in advance, we reach out to the customer, or a customer approaches us or me, and then we sit together, we discuss whether we would like to follow up with the interest rate extension with the same bank or switch after 10 years
10
to another
years.
bank,
Yes.
whether he has saved a lump sum that he would like to contribute towards his remaining debt, or etc. etc. So
Okay.
in 90%, 95% of all the cases, then like after the loan is disbursed, then there is a silence period of whatever years
Yes, which is
before.
good to have in the best case.
Exactly.
Yes.
But still, it doesn't mean that we are not here. We do also service our customers
Okay.
if they would like to have some assistance or help from us, if they do
Correct.
want to have some things figured out after a couple of years, as it
Yes.
usually is. You flip a folder, you find your contract, you start reading, and oh, what was that?
Yes.
Of course, you can call me anytime.
Correct.
I'm here.
Because it was like a worst case scenario coming to my mind, because nowadays as we hear everywhere, like Siemens is firing, Adidas is firing, Puma is firing. So a lot of people have lost their job, and suddenly everything was smooth. But after 5 years, they got hit by the scenario of the market, and they're not able to pay for certain period and all. Some
Yeah.
situation occurs. So in this case also, they can reach out to you and you'll help them to like either pause a loan or maybe buy them some time or some alternative.
As far as we can, and we like
Yes.
normally we have a certain impact on the banks
Yeah.
without using the word we can, we always try to help. We always can reach out to the bank with the customer, for the customer, and
Okay.
ask for a solution. Of course, we do that. But in the
Okay.
end of the day, still it is bank's decision. But on the other hand, I can tell you that we never had experienced a single case where the bank was playing the bad guy.
Okay.
The bank is always orientated in having a good solution for all the scenarios. Same
Scenarios.
thing was back in the day in COVID time, for example, when
Correct.
all of the people all of a sudden experienced lockdown, or
Yes.
some jobs were closed or
Yeah.
paused or whatever, especially in the food industry.
Correct.
And then the banks, and of course by governmental regulation, but the banks by themselves came up to the customers providing a solution to pause the principal payment, just offering the customers pausing for a year and
Okay.
just paying interest for that loan to have the situation stabilized. That was also very, very generous actually. And that was like a, in my opinion, that was a super good solution and a super good move, because in that case you had an extraordinary situation and there was a solution, and that's actually the main important thing.
Okay, okay. This is actually good to know because when we are going to borrow or mortgage such a big amount, and everyone has to plan a lot, and they have to also think of a worst case scenario, because after COVID we are experiencing some or the other thing every next year, and then you have to think like really twice whether you want to go into this or not. But if you have someone who can provide you the proper consultation, who understands your not only the language but also your concerns and fear, then it becomes much easier to go ahead.
Of course, we can all
Yes.
we can always and only tell to our customers, just talk with us, stay in communication with us. If you
Correct.
have a question, and this is my normal sentence, I think you have heard it a couple of times from me: if you need me, I am just an email away. Just
Yes,
reach out to
yes.
me. Just
And this is an absolute thing which I just love about you. And we just ping you, and you are the person from where I get responses like less than 30 minutes, and it's done. And I still remember the day when we were in our house purchase, and then I just got a call around 1:30 afternoon. Hey, tomorrow is your key handover. We haven't received the money, and if we don't get it, you don't get keys tomorrow. And I was like, what the bullshit? How? What will I do? I have already my plans. I have the priest booked for the day after for the housewarming. And then I was like, oh, Rush, Dimitri, can you please help? And then you immediately you disconnected my call, but I got an email that, okay, I'm in meeting. Tell me what happened. And then the next day before 1 o'clock, we got everything in place. And that was the moment I became fan for you.
thank you so much. I do really
Yes.
appreciate it. But let's do
Yes.
not call it service level standard.
Yes, yes,
I
definitely.
try to I
Yes,
try
this
to
is what I
follow.
just also wanted to try to tell our audience, that it's not only the money or the best rate or things, but it is also the personal experience, or the interaction or the feeling of the trust you can go with. So okay, if you are stuck, someone is there to help you. Maybe always not up to the same standard, but definitely that there is someone you can count upon.
Of course, at
Yeah.
least you can definitely benefit from the experience I am trying
Yeah.
to share with all of my customers in a very honest and very, very transparent way, because I have been in my sector and in my branch and my job since 2006. So it's almost 20 years of experience, and with consulting over 1,000 customers every year, also a certain experience in almost every life story I have heard, or I maybe have at least an advice or another story to tell. So I do tell all of my customers everything what I'm telling is just a part of my story, and you can either take something good from you or decide on your own. But the only thing I can do is I can just honestly tell my opinion.
Yes, I think this is good already. I think we have got lot of important information and insights that how it can be done, what are the needs to get loan, how to not only for the house but it is vehicle renovation, personal loan, anything else also they can reach out. All kind of consultations are free. But do you think there are other ways as well where someone can get a metrics kind of a thing or calculate that okay they are eligible to get this much loan or something, or they get this service only during consultation?
Well, of course, the more professional and the more precise way would be throughout a consultation, of
Okay.
course. But everyone is seeking for a plus minus, right?
Yes.
And that's why the plus minus that I can give to you today are three different indicators that I have brought. Beside
Okay.
of that, every customer, of course, can visit our homepage, which is baugeldundmehr.de, and search and browse out throughout all the calculators that we have provided on our
Okay.
homepage for
Okay.
all of certain for different types of calculations.
Okay.
But regarding the indicators as of September 2025, I can tell to you right now is that everyone who is currently thinking about purchasing a future home, the calculation you need to do for you is approximately 100,000 euros of loan are causing a 400 euros monthly installment. Means if you are seeking for a 200,000 euros loan, your future installment will be 800 euros. And if you're looking for a 400,000 euros loan, your future installment will be roughly 1,600 euros.
Okay.
Just as a rough number.
Rough number so that they can get an
Exactly.
estimate.
Exactly. Second indicator is that your future installment shall not be higher than 40% out of your income that you do generate net per month.
Okay.
So in that case, if you do earn 4K per month, your future installment for your future home shall not exceed 1,600 euros.
Okay.
Which brings me to the third indicator, and in the best case, all of these three do match in a certain way. Net income times 100 is the more or less recommended loan amount. So if you do talk about a 4K net income salary times 100, 400,000 is the max loan amount recommended for that type of salary.
Okay.
That's and if every of those three indicators match, then you have basically the let's call it 90% chance of loan approval in that sector, as long as you do match the other criterias of permanent residency, equity, and the stuff that we did talk about in the episode. But for the precise calculation and also for some governmental help support programs, for some KfW loans that we
this
did
is
not
I was
talk
about to
today.
ask.
Yes,
Yes,
because
that-
it would take it too far because
far.
yeah, we have so much information to share. We have
Correct.
so many news. We can do follow-up episodes. We can do some
Yeah.
more deeper dive
Correct.
into some topics if your audience is interested
Correct.
to have those things provided.
Correct.
KfW loans, governmental support, other eligibility stuff, and so on and so on. We can have a consultation or a follow-up episode.
Okay. I think because it is already a good example, because when you can roughly calculate that if you earn 4,000, you are eligible to get 400K loan, and how to calculate an EMI. And this is what I was about to ask, like, are you also consulting on the benefits or the government aids, what people can get like KfW and all. So if they get everything together along at one place, then I think it's a one-stop solution.
It absolutely is. That's the
Yes.
that's basically the sweet spot for everyone, because
Yes.
it is a German called smiling sentence. It's the yellow from the egg. It's the best of the best.
Yes, yes, best of
It's
the best.
it's called das Gelbe vom Ei.
Yes, yes. Then I would like to thank you so much for your time and for all the information you have provided us today, because I think it is very useful and very informative. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me one more time.
Yes.
And yeah, looking forward having some other episodes to join. Thank
Sure,
you very
sure.
much. It
Thank
was a
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, friends. Thank you for watching us. And if you are someone who is looking for mortgage or loan and you want your dream house to be your dream house loan to be sanctioned, or you want some consultation, you can write to us, or you can write directly to the Dimitri from Baugeld Mehr, and you can use the code Himansha 100 to get discount of €100 on successful closure of your loan. So don't forget to like and subscribe our channel, and thank you for your love. And this video is sponsored by Laksh Homes, who help to design and renovate your dream home. So if you are looking out for some renovations or some smart interiors, do visit their page and follow us on our channel, and you can find the contact in the description below.